cutting the grass in front of these hives, which just looks horrible. Dylan is my photographer again today, and Dylan's showing how it looks in between the hives. We've already cut in front of the big hive, and now I'm working on this hive. I'm going to pull some of these things up by the roots, but I'll bet they're just as bad the next time we get back. All right, that's good enough for that. Hi, this is Linda Tillman, and we are at the Morningside Garden where we're going to inspect the 3 beehives here. And we're going to start with the little new hives because we've been feeding it. We want to see what they've done with the food. Have they drawn any wax? Have they built any more brood? So we're going to start by looking at the front. Right now we can see a bee with pollen on her legs coming right in. If we watch for a few minutes, I'm sure we'll see another one. There's another one right there. See that one with the bright yellow pollen on its legs? Beautiful pollen, and just displaying for us like it's a model in a fashion show. There's another one over there. Here she comes, or she comes, sorry. Getting out of the light. You can see them better. So we know the queen is in there and laying, and there's lots of pollen coming in today. Look at that, 3 at once. Pretty cool, huh? All right, so now we're going to go pop at the front door to say hello. We're here. And we're sure they're almost out of food, or they're not all the way out of food, because it's been a couple of weeks since we've been here, since I've been out of town. So we're going to start by loosening the strap. I think I'm going to start by loosening the strap. Oh, there it is. Okay. Loosen the strap. There's a bee up here who's curious about what in the world am I doing. Take off the top. And there's still bees in here around the food. There's also a cockroach. Can you see the cockroach? So what we want to do is take this off. And you can see that the food is all gone. So one of the things we're going to do for these girls is give them new food. There's a small hive beetle in here in the Boardman feeder, but they have used it all up. So we brought a new bottle, the same size as the old one. And I'm going to take this top off and substitute this top with holes in it, which will allow them to feed. I'm not going to put it in just yet. I'll put it over here, ready to go when we put the hive back together. What we're going to do now is go ahead and take off the inner cover. Oops, upset those little girls. I bopped around their Boardman feeder, and they flew up like they were on a trampoline. Okay, so we take this off, and look at the bees in the top box. Do you remember there were no bees in the top box? And now we have all kinds of bees in the top box. And we're not going to look at the top box first. We're going to look at the top box second. So we're going to put this cover over the top box, this top drape, to keep them calm while we're doing our hive inspection. We need a lot of grass around here because Georgia Power is not fond of bees. So they don't come and clean on our hive. So Dylan and I did sort of a minimal. There we go. Okay, lots of bees in the top box. Let's see what's going on in the bottom box. Not as many in the bottom box, but that may be because they're all, checking on the feeder. So, let's see what we find in here. I'm going to go into the second frame first. Look at all those bees in there, Dylan. Can you see them? I also see smoke coming over them, which is what putting the smoke by the front door does. Okay. Now these bees, despite it being the dearth and not a good time of year, are relatively calm. So we're going to take off the second frame. I'm going to loosen it on that end. Loosen it plug this in. This is a very nice frame. There's lots of brood over here, a nice pattern of brood over here. On this side, you can really see the pollen that's being packed in. Look at that beautiful pollen, yellow, orange, lots of colors. And there's brood going on. Let me get the sun behind me and see if I can see any eggs. I have to push my glasses up if I'm gonna see eggs. Okay, let's see. All right, Dylan, they're eggs. Can you come behind me?
Yeah.
Okay. Come behind me, and they're eggs right in those cells. Can you see them?
Yeah, I think
Little
so.
grains of rice?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I'd really like people to be able to see them. And that lets us know that the queen has been here. It's not an unlikely frame to actually see her on. So we're going to kind of look for her. Here's an even better view of an egg in that cell right there. Can you see that? If the bee would quit walking on it.
Yeah.
Bee sticks her head down on it. So this is a very good frame. This is the frame where we saw the queen. Here's a bee in the hive with pollen on her legs. And lots of nice pollen stored over here on this side. So, interestingly, they've done what bees often do when there's not a slatted rack. They've put the brood toward the back where it won't be bothered by the wind blowing in. So I'm going to hang this one on the frame rack. We don't really need to look at more of this hive because we know the queen is laying. We've seen bees with pollen. But we'll look at one more frame because I'm really curious about what are they doing in the top box. So that's what we really want to look at. But we're going to check out this frame first before we go to the top box. Wow, what a prodigious queen. So there's more brood all in there in the center of that area. Again, they're keeping their brood in the same area of the hive. Although there's brood up here at the front too, Dylan. I don't know if you can see it, but there's brood all in here. Can you see it? Kinda. Not really? Okay. If you can't, it's okay. But again, there are eggs in every one of these cells right in here. Let me get the back to the sun and you get right behind me and see if you can see them. I'll move out of the way so you can get a good view. Can you see it?
Which ones?
Right there. Right above my thumb. Can you see them? If you don't, it's okay.
I might. I'm not sure.
Okay, they're in these cells right here. There's an egg in the bottom of each one of the cells right there. If you don't get it, it's okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we're going to put this one back in this box, and we're going to put this box back together because at this time of year, you don't want to disturb the bees too much. The grass wants to come with me. And the bees don't like interference like that in the hive. Okay, so that takes care of that box. And what we're going to do now is take off the hydrate and put the top box back on before we look at it. I'll put it on very gently. Okay, and now let's see what we can see in this box. Because there hadn't been any bees in this box, and all of a sudden there are. So what we want to know is, have they been using the honey we provided them to draw wax? Or were they in the box because they want to be closer to the possible source of food? Why are they in this box? What in the world are they doing? That's our big question. So we're going to loosen up the frame on both ends. And I'm going to pull it out. So she confidently, but nothing is happening. Okay, let's see if I can do it now. Here we go. Wow. Look at all that. That's all new brood. See that light biscuit capping? That's what the bees do before they get their feet dirty, and they turn it into darker brown. And again, there's lots of nice activity here. Really pretty brood. Isn't that pretty brood? Now notice how they have not attached it at the bottom. When they draw their own wax, they very often don't attach it at the bottom of the frame, which means the beekeeper has to be very careful. See if you can get this move going. So when I want to look at the other side, I can't turn it at a slant. I have to keep it vertical the whole time. So I've kept it vertical, and I can see that exactly the same thing is happening on this side. Lots of nice new brood and wax. And what they did with the honey we gave them was use it to build wax. So that is exactly what we wanted them to do, and very cool. So we're not going to look at this hive anymore. It could not be thriving anymore. It's just doing great. And we're going to take it and put the feeder back on, and they'll be thrilled to get new honey. They'll be so excited. And you'll remember that the reason that we have the feeder, the Boardman feeder, inside the surround is because it's very dangerous at this time of year for a beehive to have open honey. So you'd never put a Boardman feeder on the front of a hive at this time of year. Now you might put a Boardman feeder on the front to show them the top. It has holes poked in it with a nail so that the honey can get out. And I'm going to turn it upside down, move over honey, get out of the way. There you go. And I'll put it right back where it's been, and now the bees have a new source of food to keep on thriving. And next week when we come, I'm going to bring another new box because this hive is going to need a new box. Now here's a small hive beetle, and I'm going to smash it. I thought I was going to smash it. Oh, it flew before I could smash him. Oh well. But there's only the one small hive beetle, so that's not a bad thing. Here's another one.
Yeah, there's a couple, I think.
Yeah, I know. I've seen several, but I saw one in the Boardman feeder. Which I don't know if that meant he was drinking the honey too or what. Okay, so, all right. The end of this hive, we'll put it back together. What a success story. The queen is doing great, and we are very happy with the way this hive is behaving. They've adjusted to the robber screen. You notice we don't have bees all over the top anymore. They've adjusted to it, and they're going in and out just like they should. And we have it strapped down to protect it because it's so light and little. Okay, let's pull good and tight. So what they're hooked to is the stone beneath them, which just don't keep them safe. Now we're going to put the top back on this and get these bees off of here. Go home. Good girls. There's a rhyme about ladybugs. I don't know what you say to the honeybee. Honeybee, honeybee, fly away home. Okay, so now we're going to go to our bigger hive and see how they're doing. I'm so lucky to have Dylan, and next week I'm not going to have Dylan, so y'all are going to be subject to my doing it on the tripod again because he's going to be out of town. So here we go. I'm going to go pop, pop, pop at the front door and say we're here. On both of these hives, this hive and the other, the robber screen has come loose at the bottom edge, so I may fix that before we leave. I do have the evil staple gun with me. Okay, so I'll take the rock off the top. It's going to get lost in the grass. Where did that top go? That rock, that topper go. Okay, we'll take this off.
Oh my God.
Now, just interestingly, you might notice that now the bee caps have been the beer caps have been propylized to the top, not this one. They haven't propylized that one, and they may have propylized this one. Yep, they did, to the inner cover. So this is our only unpropylized beer cap, which is providing a little bit of ventilation to these girls. Okay, so let's see what happens when we take the top off of this one. See how they're doing. And you know there's no nectar flow, and there's no reason to be feeding bees right now if they have honey on them. When we'll feed them is in the
Oh my God. There's a lot of bugs.
You see what? Oh yeah, small hive beetle right there.
There's a ton of
Yeah, that happens in hives where there's an empty box on the top like this one has, because there's more room. The bees are not up here as much, and there's more room. Oh, he's smart, small hive beetle. to start flying when he sees me coming. I wonder what their intelligence, what the bell-shaped curve is for them. Okay, so nothing's happening in this box. What we may do next week is harvest this frame of honey and take this box off because it's just another area for them to have to protect. As a matter of fact, we may just do that today. We may just take this honey home with us. In fact, I think we're gonna do that. Let me see what the state of the box is underneath it. No, we're not, because it's completely full. And you never know when there'll be a little bit of nectar around for them to get something from, so I don't want to take away all of their storage possibilities. Okay, so I think this is an all honey box, so I'm going to go ahead and take it off. We're going to look at the next box down, just to make sure they've still got, oh, we forgot to look at the front for pollen.
Yeah.
Oh well, I hope that they still got away and clean. They're a little quieter than they've been. They're certainly not a queenless roar, so we can kind of assume there's probably a good queen in here, but we don't know until we go and look. But if I remember right, there is brood in this box. It's in that hive that we have to go all the way down to the bottom and see brood, unless the queen has gotten excited. And we'll start with the second frame from the end. I feel so lucky to have Bill and Tillman for me. Oh. That. This. This is all honey. And this honey is what we call wet cappings. I don't remember how recently we've talked about wet cappings, but in wet cappings, they lay the honey down against the honey, lay the wax down against the honey, so it makes the cappings look wet. They're not that bright, shiny, pretty white that we like to see over honey show worthy honey. So that's not what we have there. And they've done a lot of wet capping. Nobody really knows what's in the bee's little tiny mind, why she happens to choose to do wet cappings in one place and not in another. Okay, here's an empty frame. This must be one we harvested. The frame that I just pushed over was full of honey too, so we're looking for brood, so I didn't stop with it. And we'll look at this one. Not one come up. I got something under. Okay, so this has brood down at one end. Also, it's not attached at the bottom. And there are a lot of empty cells. I'm trying to see if the empty cells have anything in them. I know some of y'all that wear glasses have to deal with this whole issue of glasses and sliding it up and down your nose in the heat. Okay, there's tiny little brood. You'll have to get the sun in this, Dylan, but if you can get in there and look at those cells, you can see tiny little C-shaped larvae. Do I need to turn this way and get you to come that way so you can really see? Yes, that's where you can really see it. So let me get where you can really see it. Right down in the bottom of all of those cells. And come stand so you're literally behind it. Oh, you're good. Okay. So look inside those cells and see if you can see that milky little white little C's. Do you see them?
Yeah.
Isn't that cool? Those are newish eggs. They fell over in the last day or two. So we know in here we've got a good queen. And this is another frame where they've only attached the brood frame at the bottom right here. So it makes it, again, it's an old comb, so it's not as unsafe to turn it because it's stiffer. It's not like new wax. Now I feel fine about that and would be fine with closing this hive up because we know they have good new eggs being laid and everything's going fine. There are no dead bees in front of the hive except the old bodies from the pesticide kill that no longer smell bad. And so I'm just not worried about this hive. It's just doing fine. And we are going to call it a day. So, let's put it back in here. I don't know if any of you are botanists, but in the botany world, there's a thing called a key that you can use now. You can do it on the internet where you look at a plant and you say, are the leaves opposite, or are they alternate, or are they whorled or not? And you can go through all kinds of questions, and if you answer the question, are the leaves opposite, that sends you down one trail with what kind of flower it might be, or if the leaves are alternate, that sends you down a different one. Well, there's a new bee site called TheBeeMD, TheBeeMD, and it's limited in scope. They haven't got a whole lot of things on it, but they've got interesting questions on there. It's done by Jamie Ellis and people like that, Debbie Delaney and Dewey Karen, and they have interesting questions on it that you can look and try to figure out what's wrong with your beehive by answering questions like that. What do if you have a problem with the whole hive, you can ask a question and you can probably figure out what's going on because it takes you down a key. I tried a couple of things. I tried how do you tell the difference between robin and orientation, and I said it was a whole hive question, and I didn't feel great about the results, but at least it helps with some problems. Like if you're trying to decide if there's a disease in your hive, it tells you how to tell European foul brood from American foul brood, that kind of thing. So it's an interesting website to go to. So I would encourage you to go visit it if you have a question about your hive. Okay, we're looking at the front, see if we see any bees flying in with pollen. This hive seems like it has a whole lot less bees around it. Here's one, the pollen that's in there. Might be hard to see. And look, we can see a little ball of pollen that fell off of a bee's leg right there. Fell out of her pollen basket, only it's not a basket, so it fell off of her pollen basket would be more appropriate. Since her pollen basket is just a little depression on her back leg called the corbicula, and in that depression they pack the pollen. I'm not going to worry a lot because we've saw that little piece. Okay, you think we should go into the hive?
Yeah.
All right, let's go into the hive. All right, so let's take the smoker and knock at the front door a la Michael Bush. And knock at the front door. Comes off this big old lock. And take off the top cover and see what the state of things are with these beer cats. So 2 of them are, just got stung. Not that stinging that far up my arm. Oh, she walked up my arm. There was a bee inside my jacket. Okay, look, here's a cockroach, one of the things you see in the beehive. There he goes. How do I get out of here? You see lots of weird creatures in looking at a beehive. Okay, so we're going to take off the top cover, but I don't worry about stuff like cockroaches because they're not down in the hive, they're just living on the top. And the good news about this one is you can see small hive beetles in the first, in the inner cover. And this box looks like it's always looked. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 frames of wax, not necessarily any honey in it. We're going to just take this one off. We're probably going to have to go down pretty far in this hive to see evidence of the queen because you'll remember they requeened themselves. And that would be a question so you could ask on BBMD about not seeing the queen and not seeing any evidence, and what does that mean? All right. And this one again is all honey. Again, we're just going to take it off. No evidence that they've drawn any more wax, which is all because there's no nectar flow going on right now. that one does have some honey in it. And this one definitely has honey in it too. We're just gonna keep going. We'll look in the second box because if the queen ran out of space down below, she will have come into the second box, the new queen. And if not, we'll look for her in the bottom box. We'll look for evidence of her in the bottom box. Okay. Oh, this one. Well propolised. This propolis is hard for us in the summer because we have to break it. But in the winter, what it does is it serves the purpose of keeping the hive protected from air coming into the hive. It keeps it stuck together nicely. Okay, so we're going to go look at the one next to the frame with the rubber band around it. So I think that's what we did the last time. Okay, so here we go. We're going to take out the second frame. We're going to look at the second frame. Oops, that frame is coming apart, so we're not going to take it out because it's a broken frame. So instead we're going to take out the one with the rubber band, which they, oh, interestingly, remember we've been talking about how they must just love orange in their hive? This time they have taken action. They heard me talking and they decided they would show me that they did not really like orange in their hive. And they've done something interesting with the rubber band, which we will see in just a second. Look what they've done. They've eaten through it on this side. They said, no more orange for us. And they ate through the rubber band. So I'm gonna just relieve them of the rubber band. And look at here, there's brood in this frame. So our new queen is doing great. So she's come up here and there's honey in the corner and brood in the frame. And they're doing fine. You can see right here that this is a larva that they haven't quite finished capping. They will cap it, but they haven't finished yet. I'm just gonna lay this down here because we're just gonna look at one other frame and then we're gonna call it a day. It's hot up here and these bees are doing okay. And we wanna not spend too much time in this hive. So let me get this one frame out and we'll look at it. And then we're gonna say goodbye to the bees because we have another treat for this inspection, which is look, more brood. This queen is doing great. She wasn't in this box at all when we were in here 2 weeks ago. And now she is just going to town and doing great. So we're not worried about her. We're not worried about the hive. And we've helped them with their orange decorating issue. So now we're just going to put this hive back together. And that will be the end of our inspection at the Morningside Garden. At this time of year, that's what we do. So thank you for joining us in the Morningside Garden inspection. I'm just going to put this hive together, not on film.